Okay, so I think, some of the people listening to this probably won't understand what free diving is, especially what it is like in a competitive sense.
Mhm.
I think it might be good. Could you just like explain to us what it's all about and how you compete at free diving?
Yeah. Well, freediving is very easy. We just hold our breath and we try as deep as we can. In the pool, we go as long as we can, distance, and as long time we can, like breath holding, just static. But in the sea is as deep as we can. I'm specialized in depth disciplines, so we do with fins, without fins, pulling the line, but always is self-propulsed disciplines where we try to go as deep as we can. No? But of course, this kind of sport is something that we have been doing for millennials, for thousands of years, to recollect food in the sea. So we technically increase our knowledge and our physiological knowledge. So we do it as a sport and we try to go as deep as we can. But there is a very mental part of the sport, very introspective. So it's a beautiful sport in terms of not only because we are in the nature and in the middle of the ocean, but and we can have some encounters with the wildlife, but also it's very a sport where we have to look inside what is happening, not only technically but also physiologically and mentally. So from outside looks not very interesting, like somebody's holding the breath in the pool, just floating or just going down by a rope and up. But it happens a lot of things, probably like climbing. No, climbing, okay, you can see, or maybe it doesn't look like some person climbing up and climbing down, say, okay, one time is good, but for the rest of your life, why you do this? No, but then there is a lot of aspects that there is involved in this kind of sport.
Yeah, so let's talk about some of them. So I think that it would be cool to understand like with the depth especially, you're not just holding your breath, right? You also have to equalize, and then
Mhm.
also, you have in order to win a competition, is it the case you have to get down to the depth wherever you want to go to, and then you
Yeah,
also have to come back up
conscious.
and you can't pass out.
Yes. The
Okay.
idea is that we announce the depth the day before. So if I'm gonna go 120 meters, I have to announce the discipline, self-propulsed, free immersion, or constant wave with bifins or whatever. The dive time, so more or less more in terms of safety protocols to know how to manage the dive time and the depth. And we cannot announce something what is deeper than 3 meters that you have trained the last 6 months. So you have
Right.
to see where you are in the training in the last 6 months. No, so with this, they place on the bottom one tag that what is a velcro, a few velcros, and we have to reach the bottom and get the tag and bring up the tag. Even if there is cameras and drones, underwater drones that they follow us, then we have to bring this tag. And once we surface, once the mouth is out of the water, they put the clock, and then we have 15 seconds to remove the facial equipment, to look the judge, to make this sign and say I'm okay. So this is a like let's say an exercise to see that you are not hypoxic, that you are able to control yourself, you are not like with lost motor control, let's say. No. And once you do
Okay.
this, if everything is done, you have the tag, you did the depth, you have everything done, and then they give you a white card that the record of
Yeah.
the depth is success.
And what's the facial equipment?
Yeah, like mask or nose clip.
Okay.
So normally at this depth we go without mask and we just have the nose clip.
Why without the mask?
Because the mask has air, so we need to equalize the mass,
Mm,
to balance the pressure. We have to exhale from our lungs, so this air we prefer to have in our blood, for our blood, rather than to the mask,
right.
because in reality is more like it's part of the mental thing, of course, because people we feel more insecure when we don't see. But if we rationalize this situation, at the end of the day, at depth there is no light, most of the time, so we don't really see anything. And in case we see something, we only see a rope, and the rope doesn't matter if it's clear or it's blurry. It's just a rope. So
Yeah.
this is the same information. So we get information from temperature, textures, brightness, from the speed. So all the information, it doesn't come from what we see. So at the end of
Mm-hmm.
the day, we take the mask off and then we go without mask.
Can you pull on the rope, or you feel the rope, or?
Yeah, there is three disciplines. One is free immersion, where we pull down and up through the rope without fins. The other one is constant weight, where we fin down and up with monofin or bifin. And the other one is we go down without pulling the rope and without fins. So it's constant weight, no fins, we call. So the constant weight, the ballast is constant. So we have 2 kilos. We have to go down with 2 kilos, come up with 2 kilos. So yeah, we pull either, or but always we are attached to the main rope, like like surfing line that is attached to the board. Same thing that to the main line. That the main line goes to the surface, and up the boat there is a counterweight system. So in case
Okay.
that the drone or the sonar see us that we have any trouble, they release the counterweight, and then they bring us to the surface.
Okay.
So
Interesting.
we are attached to the main line all the time for safety protocols. But we face the mental part, let's say, through the knowledge, because if you have an accident 120 meters, even if we have a counterweight, it's very difficult that you survive. But the chances to this happen are very, very low, because at 120 meters the pressure is so high that the oxygen partial pressure on the blood is very high. So in terms of hypoxia, it's very difficult to have an accident. No? So we relay from our, let's say, strength, mental strength, from the knowledge that we have about physiology.
Okay, so explain that to me because I don't understand. So, are you saying that, okay, so you're running out of oxygen in your blood, right? Because you haven't breathed in a while. But you're saying that the pressure of the depth
Yeah.
means that you, in essence, kind of have more oxygen because of the
No,
pressure, or?
you have more partial pressure at depth. So the main accidents that could happen in freediving is that you pass out, you black out due to hypoxia. Because if you have blackout, is your brain take your control of your body, so you cannot move. You lost motor control. So that means if somebody don't take your mouth out of the water, you will drown. Okay. So if we are very deep, even if we are touched to the main line, if we could black out 120 meters, chances to survive are very low, because they have to bring you from 120 to the surface. That means maybe around 2 minutes without breathing, with water coming to your lungs and all the stuff. But
Right.
we rely on the knowledge of physiology, that we know that at 120 meters there is 13 atmospheres, so there is 13 more times more pressure than on surface. So the oxygen, partial pressure of oxygen on our blood, instead to be at 0.21, what is 21% of oxygen on the air, we are at 0.21 by 13. So we are 13 times more oxygen, let's say, pressure on the blood. So your chances to black out due to hypoxia are impossible almost, unless you are not technically prepared for this kind of depths. No.
Right. Okay. Okay. Interesting. Um, but as you go down, you need to equalize your ears, right?
Yeah.
How big a part of the challenge is that? Or is it something like when you learn it, you kind of can do it again and again?
No, this is the most challenging part of deep free diving. Let's say when we teach beginners to go 10, 20, 30 meters, of course they need to learn the proper techniques. But once they learn, the main technique is there. But as deep as you go, you increase the chance, because it's more difficult, because the pressure is higher. So the volume decreases of the lungs, of the middle ear, the stacking tubes, the sinuses, everything is decreased. So you need to equalize these areas. And one of these areas are the middle ear. So when you are 120 meters, for example, you have 13 atmospheres, so your lung decreases 13 times. So when you try to bring air from your lungs to your oral cavity to push with the tongue to the middle ear to equalize, there is no air anymore at that depth. So we do other kind of techniques, like we call mouth fill. So we bring air from mouth, from the lungs to the mouth, and then we keep this air on the mouth to equalize the ears. So, but these things takes years normally to learn properly, to masterize, let's say. No, but it's like any sport, you need to train
Yeah.
to adapt physiologically for adaptation. This is very similar to, let's say, climbing, not climbing like high mountaineering,
Yeah.
like,
Yeah.
because we need adaptation, we need time,
Hmm.
not only technically to climb, but also physiologically to adapt to the pressure and to the depth.
Interesting. And I think that what freediving and climbing have in common is that they kind of like they trigger our kind of primal fears, like the fear of heights and the fear of falling and the fear of edges is like very primal in us. Like we don't
Totally.
naturally want to be on cliff edges. And the same with breathing. Like just holding my breath for like a minute,
Mhm.
like the urge to breathe is so powerful, right? um like is that kind of what makes, what is it about that, I suppose, that's so interesting to you, and how do you manage that urge?
Mm.
Like,
It's yeah, it's true that there are. I read, as I told you, books about mental training for climbers, and when Pedro, friend of both, gave me this Warriors book, Rock Warriors book. I have many. I was reading it, and they were talking to me to freediving instead to
right,
climbing.
yeah,
No, so
cool,
it's a lot of things that are very very similar. No, especially because we have to. It's a sport where it's actively we have to move to keep on going. So down we need to
hmm,
keep on pushing down,
right, yeah,
and you have to keep on going up. So
hmm,
all the time you have to decide every step you do to keep on
yeah,
going. No, it's not like jumping from
true,
a plane that your body just go by gravity and then okay you are afraid, but
yeah,
you cannot do anything else. It's not that, something actively. So you
true,
have all the time with this, as you say, primary fears, this sense of surviving mode that we have like
hmm,
printed in our genes.
yeah,
So yeah, it's true that this happens, but with, I guess, like climbing, I'm the other way because I'm afraid of heights, but I'm attracted to depth. So
right,
this is the other
yeah,
way probably. But I think with through knowledge, that's very important to understand what happened to our body when we hold our breath. This is the most powerful tool, because when we are ignorant, we decrease our performance because we don't know that we don't know what we are doing, and we don't want to be in risk, so people decrease their performance. Then through technique, how to breathe, how to relax completely, we are able to be on the lowest heart rate possible before we start the breath hold. And then safety. So once you know, you have the knowledge, you have the technique, and you have the safety that is not compromised, then you are able to relax completely, and then you can enjoy this part where we call um, pleasure. La parte, well, is the pleasure of the free of breath holding. So there is two phases: pleasure
right,
phase, where when since you hold your breath until you have urge to breathe, and then we have the struggle phase, from you have urge to breathe and you stop your breath hold and you go out. In the relaxing or pleasure phase, we will go through the relaxation before, and then we scan the body to try to relax any muscles, even the teeny muscles that we have in our body. And then we use, without the sense of the sight, we use all the floatability, temperatures, textures, sounds, everything what is around, to go to make our minds fly away. Instead to be in a pool holding our breath, we just go away to to like kind of divagation. I don't know the word in English, but like somebody's talking to you and it's not very interesting, and then you just forget
Right.
the focus, the attention, and then you go away.
But are you
Then
still present in that moment, or do you sort
you
of
can
dissociate from it?
you can go and back. As more experience you have, you are able to go away. And then it wakes you up when you have urge to breathe. The urge to breathe is not that we are hypoxic, is that we are hypercapnic. So when
What does that mean? Sorry, hyper.
hypercapnic is when you are high on CO2 levels. So body
Ah,
tries
yeah.
to maintain CO2 and O2 levels, and when we hold our breath, we have low oxygen and high CO2, no, because we don't
Mm-hmm.
exhale
Yeah.
the CO2. Theirs to breathe comes with the high CO2, not with the low levels of oxygen.
Right.
So in
Okay.
my case, I hold my breath for around 9 minutes. When I'm at 4 minutes, I'm already have urge to breathe, and I have diaphragmatic contractions, we call that. The brain send
Oh
a message to the
yeah.
diaphragm and start to contract. So since from 4 to 8:30, I control my urge to breathe, and I have urge to breathe, but I know from the science and through the repetition and the training that my body is getting more and more efficient at that moment. So as more hard is the breath hold, more efficient physiologically talking is your body to keep your heart rate lower, to do a vasoconstriction, to to induce the spleen contraction, so everything goes into the freediving mode to survive.
Right. Wow.
So at the end of the day is of course training and repetition. So physiologically you get tolerance, but mentally you get tolerance to this urge to breathe. But then you need the knowledge what happens, how to do it, the technique, and the safety that must be not compromised. So you are able to push a bit farther, and then you adapt at all levels.
Right. Wow. And so it really feels to me like the mental side goes really hand in hand with the physical side. And that,
Sure.
like, if you don't have the physical training, you really can't have the confidence mentally. Um, but what's interesting to me, I suppose, is that even though you can have that knowledge that you're safe, let's we can maybe argue about how safe you are, but um everything in your body wants you to go back up, right?
Yes, but it's very easy for you to understand because me as a beginner in climbing, the first fears I had is I didn't trust the gear.
Yeah.
I thought, okay, if I fall, this rope, this thinny rope, I'm a 95 kilograms guy, is not gonna mm, get me. I'm gonna smash myself. So the first, of course, you need to trust your gear and your partner, your safety, and then once you repeat many times, you are able to understand that nothing is going to happen, that you are not unsafe. And this is part of the process also, because, and this is the beauty of freediving also, I guess, climbing, no? Because we have fears, and this is the mental part of freediving, because if it's go down and up a rope, it's kind of boring. But then even if the technical part, the equalization, the relaxation, the biomechanics, the train, all this stuff is nice, but sometimes you're trained and then you turn, and then you have to think why I did turn, what was the reason, and then over the years you understand which are the reasons that you are turning at that moment, if we're really physical or physiological, or were just mental.
Right.
You can have any excuse this day, you fight with your girlfriend, you didn't sleep properly, you eat too much, you eat too less, you're tired, you are hydrated, many excuses that you give yourself to turn. And this is very interesting because what I face in my career is that at the beginning, I learned that most of the times I was turning because because I gave myself an excuse to don't do it at that day, no. But over the years, I was so used to learn that was an excuse that I never turned. So I was going, anything happened, whatever it happens, if I was good, I was trained, I was tired or whatever, I was even going down. And over the years, to keep on safe, I had to re-educate myself to go on the other way, to say, okay, no, now I need to turn. So I'm not sure
Right.
if this happens also in climbing, but I guess that as more knowledge and more technical better you are, sometimes you have to decide that maybe it's not the right time sometimes to do it, because of the right reasons, not because just an excuse of the day, you know. But yeah, this is what happened. We learn how to why we turn, and once you never turn, then you have to learn you when you should turn.
Yeah, yeah, makes sense. I guess it's you know, your mental strength and your mental knowledge really has to match up perfectly with your physical strength and the technical knowledge that you have in your body. Because and you see it in climbing, like so many people are it's so it's a mental weakness rather than
Yeah,
a physical weakness, you know,
yeah,
like physically they can keep climbing, but mentally it's become too uncomfortable for them. So psychologically, the psychological discomfort is too high.
yeah,
So they go back down
yeah,
and climbing. You say take, and the rope, you know, starts to
yeah,
hold you. Um, but then the other thing can happen, and this is where accidents happen, is that you have too much mental confidence. It happens more in young men for some
yes.
reason.
No, this
This
is
kind
true.
of bravado, you know, and they think they can do anything, like they're invincible.
Yeah,
And then it's like their mental confidence doesn't actually match their physical ability.
yeah.
It sounds like you had a similar journey with that. Does anything stand out to you, like any moments that you can describe to us where it it got dangerous? Like, have you ever passed out, or have you been close? Like, how close to that edge have you got, and what did that feel like?
Yeah, well, this is true what you say. No, I think men are have much more ego on that side. I'm not too egomaniac on this thing because I was always training because of the pleasure of training. I love to be in the sea, and it was less about success, but more about about the pleasure. No, but of course there is part of ego where you have to push and all the stuff. Um, I went through many stages in my career. I always say when I read that book, I have to analyze my let's say peaks of performance. In 2012, I performed the first world record attempt 222. I 2016 123 in Bali, the second world record attempt, and 2018 at 125 in Honduras, the third world record attempt, and was completely different each one. No, always I say that I never was so free than the first time because I didn't have any expectations. I
Mm.
didn't have any scarf from my career, like friends who died on the way, or accidents, or situations that you see that, oh, maybe we were on the line, or all the stuff. And then as you grow, of course you these scarves also when I have childs and all the stuff. So this makes you some, I don't know how you call scarves, like on your soul, on your mind, that makes you be less free, let's say, like
Yeah.
before. That's why maybe young man sometimes a
Mm.
bit too brave, no, because it doesn't match the bravery with the technical abilities or skills. So that's why good climbers or good freedivers, at least in my opinion, are the guys or the guys and girls between 35 45 years old, that they have 20
Mm.
years experience, where they much enough knowledge in terms of skill, but also they saw what happened in their
Yeah.
career, so they know where they have to push and where not, and this gave you an extra knowledge, no. In my case, the three cases I explained you, the world record attempts, I black out in my career these three times in the world record attempts. I think it was by different reasons, because any of the trainings in my career I never black out. So only when I did attempt these world records, I black out. and it due to probably not only the conditions outside, because there's a lot of pressure, a lot of people, sometimes the weather is not the best that the day that you choose and all the stuff, but I'm sure it was a mental thing also, because I was
Right.
stressed the night before, I couldn't sleep properly. And in freediving we cannot have a heart rate high, we cannot produce adrenaline,
Right.
we have to be completely rest for the maximum performance, no? So any small detail can lead into this blackout, no? Of course, when I had these dives and I had not only blackout but also squeezed and I was bleeding in my lungs, then I had friends that they died due to squeeze, and of course you see yourself, not only your sadness from the loss of your friend, but egoistically self looking yourself, you say, okay, why I'm putting myself in these
Mm,
situations once and once again. So yeah, of course I felt the fear, and I felt the risk, otherwise I wouldn't be human. But then again, when we train and we repeat and we adapt at all levels, we know that we are kind of safe unless we break some rules that we should do when you are injured or when you are not ready at all levels and all the stuff. I guess like climbers or like mountaineers, they see like, okay, it's not good weather, but you've been 3 years trying to go to the Everest, and then you are only 100 meters. Then if you are you have all the chances, you say, okay, let's turn back. So it's kind of the same in freediving, no? When you have but everything drives you to keep on going, no? And it's hard,
mm.
your ego, your people around, and all the stuff, no?
Yeah. So yeah, I think that's the similarities there between climbing are really strong because um even in non-competitive climbing, there's
Mm,
still a lot of external pressures
mm,
and kind of like the social reward, like with status, social validation,
totally.
praise. All of these things are such human desires. We really want those things. And so you have to, try to make the right decisions based on, how you feel, and what your skill level is. So I imagine like when you're diving, you have this urge that pulls you back, um, which is that fight or flight response, because you can't breathe. You really want to
Yeah,
breathe.
yeah.
But then also you have that urge to go down, um, because you want to beat the record and
Mm.
you want the success. And there's probably a monetary reward, right? If you
Not
win
really,
some money. No,
not
okay, not
really.
really. Okay.
There is
Um,
not too much. Of course, there is in records, not like maybe I don't know climbing, but or maybe sports like surfing that is also small, let's say, but they have more rewards than we have. We don't really make money, but we have sports or sponsors that if you win, then you have a contract with them or whatever. But in the competition itself, the
okay.
organizers, they don't give any normally. There is
Right.
some times,
Okay.
but not normally. But it's more about yeah, it's true, but we're very used to hold our breath. So I guess like you are very used to have pain in your arms, no? Same for us. That's why we train also other sports people, and and in mental training you use some tools like breath holding or cold or whatever that you use as a tool to discomfort people, let's say, so you are able to control yourself through the knowledge, through the technique, and through the safety, so same for us, we repeat once and again at depth, and once we have urge to breathe, we are able to disassociate one feeling, nothing to do with the safety. So even me, for example, around 70, 80 meters on the way down, when I free fall, so I don't move and my body just free fall due to the negative buoyancy. I even have urge to breathe. I have contractions, but the contraction is in my diaphragm, and the rest of the body is my heart rate is going down more. I have a vasoconstriction. My spleen starts to contract to produce more hematocrit. So I know that everything is right to
Mm,
reduce the oxygen consumption, and I'm able to dissociate this part to this part. So I'm equalizing here. I have this closed. I keep on equalizing, but my body is completely relaxed, even if I have urge to be breathing contractions. So we kind of separate one thing. The feeling is nothing to do with the safety. So
Yeah, okay.
actually, when it's harder, physiologically talking, you are more safe because you are more efficient.
Right. Yeah, okay.
You know what I mean?
Yeah. So, but so say you're starting to feel, because I guess, there's a reason why you don't go to 140 meters, right? There must,
140.
of you know, you're pushing the limits, right, to beat these records. How do you know that you're that extra 2 meters or whatever you're doing because you can, or because you're pushing too hard because you want to beat the record?
No, no, we know we can, but of course, as deeper we go, it's much more difficult because deeper you go, you need more breath hold. So if you go 160 meters, you need to be able to equalize. So technically, it's very, very, very difficult. We are around 120, 130. We are kind of like not limiting, but every time is less air. So you have to be very fine tuning to. That's why only few people can equalize at that depth, and the rest of the people, even if they are super strong physically, they cannot equalize below 100 or 90 or 70. So it depends their level, no. So this is years of experience, no? And freediving is a very young sport, let's say, no, in these things. The knowledge came the last 10 years in terms of how to equalize at that depth and all the stuff. Then we need adaptation that I think we are good adapt physiologically our species to go deep. So I think this is not a big problem. And to go 130, 140 meters, you need now we're going between 4 and 5 minutes dive time between going down and up. So 140, 150 meters would be maybe more between 5 and 7 minutes, and in movement while we move.
Yeah.
So the oxygen consumption after 6 7 minutes of moving, it's a lot, no. So and also we know that we have some problems of oxygen, no, sorry, of nitrogen saturation at depth. We have a little bit of narcosis. We could have a little bit of decompression sickness, so the nitrogen gets very dissolved in our blood. So when we come up, this bubble gets bigger, and you can get stroke or whatever. No, it's
Yeah.
not that normal. That could happen. No, so as deeper we go, more chances we have. No, so at the end of the day, it's not just by 1 or 2 meters, because we increase. Now the world record is 127 in this discipline that I did 122. In constant way, like finning is 131. So we could go in the next 5 10 years probably on the range 130 140s. Yes, I'm sure. But we go, and especially as it's a very amateur sport, most of the divers are not like super professional. They are professionals, but they have less sponsors to be all the year
Mm-hmm.
round training. And also, you cannot climb Everest 4 times a month. You have one
Mm-hmm.
time a year, or 2 times or 3 times. And with freediving, it happens the same. You cannot train, compete at the highest level every weekend, even if you were very good sponsor, because physiologically you need time to rest, also
Yeah.
to readapt and all the stuff. So that's why it takes time, because you can see my gaps. 2012, 2016, 2018, it takes me 3 4
Right.
years to get into
Right.
the level, not only physiologically, but also like logistically, with money, with sponsors, with the time of your personal life and all the stuff.
Right. Yeah. So there is pressure then at these events. Um, the external pressure, like does that not bother you at all? You get this one opportunity to try and beat a record. Um, because obviously you're managing your mind with the challenge of diving and holding your breath. and equalizing, but then you also have the mental challenge that any competitor has.
Mhm.
So how do you make sure that you're not pushing too hard and that you can, you know, because of
Yeah,
these external pressures of succeeding,
yeah,
how does that motivation to succeed not um push you to do something dangerous?
yeah, yeah. It's not, well, I think I'm gonna give you an example. In 2016, when I tried the world record attempt in Bali at 123, always I was training very naturally. So as I told you, the beginning was more. I never was so free as at the beginning, and later with all the scars, you start to have to deal also with. Um, psychologists to help you, sports psychologists to help you to understand what happens. No, and I remember I read that book on um, Rock Warriors about the power leagues and all the all the power that we lose from our self pressure. No, in freediving is not really external too big external pressure because of, well, there is media, but small news at the end of the thing of the
But
TV
don't you want
news.
to beat the record? You don't feel the pressure to
Yeah,
beat the record?
I feel the pressure because I put the pressure myself,
Yeah.
but because most of the people around are family and friends or followers, and they just want the best for you, and
Yeah,
they
okay.
just try to help you, but you put your pressure on yourself. I remember when I did the records, I took from my phone out all the social media because I
Mm.
didn't want even to listen. The people was trying to tell me, go for it, Miguel, because that gave me pressure because I didn't want to fail for them.
Yeah, okay.
So even the good vibes was not good for me.
Yeah, right.
But this is
Yeah.
more about me. People and the pressure was the people was not pressuring me or sponsors or whatever. No, it's more
Yeah, yeah.
about not to fail the others, not to fail yourself. No, so and this deals with the ego and the frustrations and all the stuff. No, but also in 2016, I have to deal with the my wife was pregnant and I was training in Bali. She was in Barcelona, so I knew that every day I was training deeper and deeper and deeper for a long periods. I was every time more and more tired mentally to deal with this situation. So I was talking with my sports psychologist to help me because I felt that I have some power leaks that I decreased my
Mm.
performance. No, because at the end of the day, I was when I was alone at home in my bed before going to sleep, I was thinking in your self-talk, let's say, I was asking myself why I was doing that, and if it was transcendental enough to lose your life for these kind of
Mm.
things, no? And my in my mind it gets stuck a thought that I didn't care about the record, but I care more about surviving. That was not very good approach when you want to do something that you want to do it. It's not
Yeah.
the easier way to be safe is don't do it. So you just go take the flag, go home,
Yeah.
and it's easy and it's not going to happen nothing. But once I choose the responsibility to do it because I love to do this and I want
Mm-hmm.
to decide and I want to put like my print that I'm capable to do this, then these power leaks was affecting me, no, because my wife wanted to meet my child. If I die, I will never meet my child, and all these things come to your mind, no. But this is part of I understand this is part of our brain tries to sabotage ourselves to keep on alive, and this is part of our survival mode. No,
Mm-hmm.
that happened. I saw this video of Alex Horner in El Capitan. I was in El Capitan because I love climbing, more like cheering for my friends than climbing. But
Yeah.
I was in El Capitan. I was looking down. I said, "No, this is something impossible, no."
Mm-hmm.
And I guess even if you have less fear, as I saw in the video, he was like, "Okay, no, this is too much pressure. People looking me,
Yeah,
people
yeah.
filming me." But technically, he was ready, no.
Yeah, yeah.
But of course, nobody wants to die unless you are
Mm.
you are a kamikaze, no. So yeah, it's part of the game to deal with this, and to through repetition and the knowledge you are able to do it.
Okay. So what are some of the main like mental training techniques that you use, and how have you implemented them in your career? Because I guess at first it's mostly about the physical training, right? Like when did you realize that the mind is also something that you can train for this sport, and how do you train it?
Yeah, actually, until passing years, I never did any mental training because I believe that freediving was more was a very where you need to train specifically. So every time somebody say, "Let's go to the gym to train strength," I say, "No, I'm not going to lose time in the gym. I'm going to go to the sea." So I need to train
Mm,
specifically, because once I train specifically, I train technically,
mm-hmm,
physiologically to adaptation,
mm-hmm,
tolerance physically also, and mentally. No, so every dive
mm,
I do, I adapt
yeah,
more and more and more. So once you reach certain level, of course, you need to put from outside, like strength, like
yeah,
flexibility, pull training, hypocapnic training, that do exercises without breathing to put the muscle
yeah,
into a hypoxic state, all the stuff, but also mentally. Because
mm-hmm,
as I told you, with the years and deeper you go, the chances of having an accident are higher, no? Even if it's the sport is very safe, no? So most of the training I did was mainly visualization. What I do is try
okay,
to focus. I try to use the autogen training more, like try to be on the moment. I try to feel what is around me. So instead to think about the future, I try to float on the sea, to feel the buoyancy, to feel the temperature. Um, so instead to let some negative thoughts, I just use what is around me, the sounds, the salinity, the density, all the stuff, to try to relax, and then to visualize what I'm gonna do, every movement I want to do before the dive. No, that makes me calm down. Also, I believe in the years before I was breathing like head up, then I was breathing head down, and then the last year I was
mm,
facing down. So I put my snorkel and I was breathing, but mainly was because my ears were underwater. So that way I could hear no sounds, but very blurry. So instead to be
mm,
1 minute, I can hear. So this
mm,
kind of blurry sound, it makes me more like a
right,
dreamy state with this concentrate, deconcentrate state. So I'm able to be with my heart rate down, because one of the risks in freediving, compared with sports, that we cannot go down with a high rate heart rate, and also we cannot produce adrenaline. If you are afraid, you
yeah.
physiologically you increase your heart rate and you produce adrenaline, and we cannot do this because otherwise we are more unsafe. So you have to kind of keep on this relaxation state while we breathe and before we go down.
Yeah, that's really interesting because in climbing, this fight and flight response, it produces adrenaline, your heart rate goes up. But in climbing, that's actually kind of useful to a point
Yes,
because
yes,
you don't want to start climbing like feeling like you're about to go to sleep, right?
yes,
You
no,
want some stress to
yes,
grip harder, but
yes,
usually people are still too stressed. They start to shake, there's too much
yes,
tension in the arms. To
yeah,
climb something that's very hard for you cannot grip any tighter than the minimum, or
yes,
otherwise you're just wasting energy.
yes, totally,
But with free diving, it's like you want everything to be as
yeah.
down regulated as possible,
we
right?
are
It's
we
like,
are jellyfish. We are jellyfish before going down. We try to be as soft as we can and move. That's the good thing about freediving, and it can improve all the sports, because we learn to just move where the muscle that we need, not other muscles.
yeah,
No,
right.
this is our re-education of yourself. I remember reading that book of Arno Ilner, that he said that sometimes he tried to grab some, I don't know how you call it, some holds or whatever. And people were so stressed that that move, they could not reach that part because they were so stiff, because they knew if they fall, they die, let's say, or they it could be danger. But if they were properly attached and they say, okay, I'm not gonna fall, even if I fall, it's not happening, nothing, then they are relaxed and they
Yeah,
can reach that hole. No? So
totally.
the
Yeah.
balance is the same. No, at the end of the day, you know yourself that you have to put some pressure, but the minimum enough to don't waste energy. But you have also to be powerful. We know that
Yeah.
we don't. Once before we go, we have to be completely relaxed and don't make our heart rate high.
It's really
What
funny.
is hard because your brain is
Panicking.
prepared to telling you don't do it.
Yeah.
But through repetition, you are able
Yeah.
to rationalize emotional situations.
Yeah. Yeah, that's interesting because also when, because I help people with the stress in climbing, and one of the things that I teach them to manage stress levels is to take deep breaths. In lots of sports, it's breath work that actually helps you relax,
Yes,
helps you
for
manage
sure.
your experience. But
You know why?
I
Because
can't do this.
when you hold your breath a little bit, even a little bit, what happens is that your brain makes your bradycardia to reduce a
Mm-hmm.
little bit the heart rate, so it gives you calm down. But also in terms of efficiency, when you hold, it makes pressure in your lung, and then the gradient increase, and the diffusion of oxygen from lungs to the blood is higher, so your saturation increase. So in terms of sports recovery, the best is what we do. We do this. We learn that to recover fast. So once we go out from the surf from the dive, we don't do. We do.
Whoa.
We
Okay.
call this hook breathing. It's the same that the
Right.
pilots they do. So we increase pressure to increase the gradient and to make a better diffusion. So this is
Right.
leading to the relaxation mode, but also to the recovery faster.
Yeah, interesting. In climbing, we do more a long exhale, like
Yeah.
yeah, this kind of thing.
Okay.
Um,
You can try also holds. Let's see.
okay, yeah, I'll try this.
It depends. It depends where, but maybe when I'm sure that when you are doing it, therefore you hold it because it's rare. Not that you exhale when you hold. I don't know. But
Yeah, I
maybe
mean, it depends. Like for bouldering, like when you're doing hard movements, you kind of need to hold your breath when you're
yeah.
climbing because
Mhm.
you need the tension. But often in climbing, when someone is stressed, there's too much tension,
Yeah.
and there needs to be a outward breath to release this tension.
Yeah, actually, like in tennis or like climbing, I was curious that when they push the ball or when they climb, first they hold and then they scream, ah, no,
Yeah, to
so
release this
they
tension.
release this tension,
Yeah.
no?
And the screaming really helps for some reason.
Yes.
It's strange.
Well, maybe this is the excel because they don't have time to do long excel because they have
Yeah.
another movement after, no?
Yeah.
But yeah, breathing is regulate, is kind of something natural. But as I told you, we train other sports, high sport people, and we use breathing not only to relax, to use what is around them, the sounds, the wind, the temperature of the sun, whatever, to take a bit of stress, but also in the moment of the exercise itself to recover also, but to perform better also. And I
Mm-hmm.
think this is one of the most important parts on high level sports people, and it's not very common that they do it. I train even with soccer people, like sports where it's a lot of money, and they never train breathing, recovery breathing, hypoventilatory training, where you put your muscles into CO2, lactic, and hypoxia
Mm,
state, so get used to better recovery and all the stuff. No? But we're trying to push
yeah.
on that direction.
Yeah, no, I think there could be some really interesting crossover there.
Mm.
Um, do you talk much about flow state in freediving circles. Do you know what I mean when I say that?
I understand what you mean.
Yeah.
We don't, yeah, we talk, but there is not too much science behind. We just like flow state. I think this kind of, in my opinion, and without too much knowledge, and you can explain me, but you can arrive to this kind of state when you have all, you have thousands of hours of repetition that you are able just to let your body go by itself, and then it's kind of automatized, that everything is so much repeat that you are able to be on the moment, no? And in freediving is very normal that we are, even without the knowledge, but we cannot be distracted. But because when we go down, we need to equalize and we have to relax. If we are not relaxed on
Mm,
the diaphragm, we have squeezes on the lung, and if we are not equalizing, we break our eardrum. So every second we have to be focused, no?
yeah, yeah.
So just explain me, maybe better for me to understand which.
Yeah, no, you explained it right well. I don't think you need the hours of experience
Mhm,
actually.
mhm.
Because you can have these moments of flow in everyday life. I
Yes.
don't think it's not just in extreme sports. Like
Mhm.
if someone throws some keys to you from the other side of the room and you just catch it,
Yes,
like
you grab it.
super quick reactions, this is
Yeah.
like a moment of flow.
All right.
Um, but yeah, I think you can have sort of deeper and less deep states of flow, but
Mm.
it's really just like, I think you're probably in this state a lot when you free dive.
Mm. Well,
it,
I try
it
to make the difference between what is competitive freediving and recreational freediving. No, it's true that you don't need thousands of hours to do recreational freediving when you are arrived to this flow state. But I think when you are masterized things, you forgot how did you flow, let's say, even if it was shallower, and then you have to re-educate yourself to kind of flow again. No, I don't know. This is
mhm.
what I feel that I have to remind myself sometimes. No.
I think flow happens when you perfectly match the challenge.
Mm,
So if you are not as experienced, you have to have a lower challenge to
exactly.
experience this flow.
Totally. Totally.
And for someone like you're probably experiencing it when it's obviously much more extreme.
Mm,
Um, but I really like what you're saying about, like you really connect to the sensations around you, like the water and the
mm,
light. And
yeah.
we also do this in climbing, like connecting to the feel of the rock under our fingers and this kind of thing. How do you manage like negative thoughts? Because I feel like just one negative thought that pops up in your mind would be enough to increase your heart rate a little bit, right? Because I
Yeah.
noticed that if I've ever tried to hold my breath, like if I'm trying to beat the last time and then I think, oh, I'm not going to beat it, and this is when there's like no consequences, right? I'm literally just sat on the sofa or something. But I noticed that if that thought comes up, there's a slight increase in stress and it raises the heart rate a tiny bit.
Mm.
If you just manage to practice well enough that you don't get any of those negative thoughts,
Mm.
or
Well,
how do you manage it?
in deep free diving is more rare, because when we go down, as I told you, there is a lot of technical stuff involved. So you need to equalize your ears, and you have to be relaxed to don't stress too much your lungs. So there is so much focus on that
Right.
you forget about. You cannot. It's difficult to have less negative thoughts. What negative thoughts come on the way up, because it's
Mm.
just filling up. So you have time, because it's
Mm.
mechanical movement. So you have time to think, oh, I'm not gonna arrive to the surface. I'm not gonna see my mother anymore, or all these thoughts that you have to kind of break once they come. It's true that in the pool, for example, maybe you told me that you were holding like static on the coach or on the pool or whatever.
Mm.
It's true that maybe these thoughts, negative thoughts, come in the phase where we call, as I told you, the pleasure phase. But the pleasure phase, you could fly away, or you could come back, but you're still on the on the pleasure phase where you are not hypercapnic. You still
Mm-hmm.
not hypercapnic, not hypoxic. So it's more like the negative thoughts come, and then you doubt. Once
Mm-hmm.
you doubt, then it puts this thought in your mind, and then it's more easy, like in freediving, to turn, or like to go out from this from in the pool, like take
Yeah.
your mouth of the water, no. But as I told you, if you dissociate this thought between what is real and what is physiologically real, then you are able to separate, and then this thought comes and goes, and then another thought comes, like, okay,
Yeah.
you listen a sound, a child that jumps, and then you remember the child when you were small, and then you fly away again, and then you come back again, and no, I was panicking, but no, let's see, I don't have any urge to breathe, I don't have a diaphragmatic contraction, so okay, and then you fly again, and then
Right.
this is the good thing about freediving, that you need to freediving is very rewarding, because once we teach people, in 2-3 days they are able to increase their performance a lot. So it's not
Mm-hmm.
like, for example, surfing. You go the first day and you don't get into the surfboard, and
A
you are
year
all the
later.
time. Yes, it's hard. But in freediving, we just hold our breath, and you just need the knowledge, the technique, and it's very simple to understand how to breathe and how to relax, and the safety. Once you have all this, then your body, we are mammals, we are made to hold our breath. So once we do this through the repetition, in 2 or 3 days, the people hold their breath for 4 or 5 minutes. They go 20, 30 meters. So it's rewarding on that. Even that they are on the line between the emotional and rational part, and this is the game, no.
Mm. Do you do any of this like Wim Hof breathing before you go down?
No.
You just normal breathing?
Yeah, no. We have at the end of the day is a hyperventilation. So when you hyperventilate, what you do is you reduce your CO2 levels in your body, so you are hypocapnic. Instead of
Yeah, I see.
CO2 levels, you are hypocapnic. So what you do with hypocapnia, first your blood is more alkaline, then your heart rate increase due to the this
Yeah,
kind of
yeah,
breathing, and also you produce a brain vasoconstriction. That's why you feel dizzy.
yeah,
So we cannot do this, because if we are hypocapnic, and then the urge to breathe, I remind you that it comes with a high CO2 levels. So if I decrease
yeah.
my CO2 levels, I don't have urge to breathe, but I have hypoxia. So I can black
Ah,
out
yeah.
without any signs of urge to breathe. So what is very, very dangerous. No, we use Wim Hof method, separate, to use as a tool for the cold, but not for breath
Right.
holding.
Okay, interesting. So what does your like ritual look like before you go down? How do you manage your mindset and your body before you go?
Well, I normally do the same routine. We dive without on fast, so we don't. I don't eat before.
Right.
So I do stretching in the morning. Not like in the night is more strong. In the morning is more soft, but to be
Yeah.
flexible, especially diaphragm and intercostal muscles.
Mhm.
And then the wetsuit, all the stuff. I prepare my weights, all the equipment, nose clip, all the stuff, the lanyard, and everything. And then I stay uh, 20 minutes before the dive on the platform. Uh, it went changed over the years, because before, I remember in 2012 we didn't do warm up, so no warm up at all, because we knew that science saying that the best to wake up the what we call the mammalian dive reflex, all these adaptations, the best are when you don't warm up in trained people, not in not trained people. No, so I
Okay.
went on that way. Then I changed it to a bit of warm up, 2 3 warm ups to 20 30 meters, to decrease my heart rate, to see that my
Right.
equalization was good. And the last years I was doing a hard warm up, so 20 minutes before my deep dive I was passive exhale from surface, went to 70 meters to put
Ah,
a lot of pressure on my lung, and to stimulate my spleen to release some hematocrits to my bloodstream. So 20 meters later, I was on this window where I have my hematocrits, my increase on hematocrits on my
What's
blood. No,
what are you saying there, Imat?
red blood cells. Sorry.
Yeah. Okay,
Yes.
yeah.
So we have a spleen, what is an organ of red blood cells. So
Yeah.
when we are hypoxic or hypercapnic, the spleen contracts, and then we have more red blood cells to our bloodstream. So
Yeah.
it's like a kind of EPO, natural EPO, let's say, no?
Right. Wow.
So we do the. I was doing this before 20 minutes window before the world record time. So first, so I choose between one or the other warm up, and then 3 minutes before the dive, I go into the water. I put my snorkel. I put my ears in the water, and I just breathe like I was going to sleep. I don't
Right.
increase my heart rate. I just float. I use my buoyancy. I feel around the sounds around me, the temperature of the water. So everything, but the heat on my back from the sun. I try to see what is around me and I feel that this breathing is under control to don't increase my heart rate and to don't hyperventilate. And then, yeah, when they say 20 seconds to the top time, I take my last breath, diaphragmatic, chest, and clavicular. I pack. So when I'm full, we do this
To top it up.
to put more air with pressure on the lungs. So instead to 10 liters, I go with 12 liters on pressure. But for this, we need flexibility. Just in case some viewers, they try at home, it's better to have flexibility.
Okay.
And then once I fill it up, I visualize every movement of every part of the dive, and then I go.
Wow.
And the fears or the doubts, all this stuff comes before the dive, even if you are trying to relax and all the stuff. But once I start, all disappears. I guess like climbing or any sport
Yeah,
that you are
totally.
afraid before, and once you are just on
Yeah.
the flow state, then just it's automatically ready for you.
Yeah, the worst part is definitely beforehand for
Before,
me. I get super stressed and
sure.
yeah, I try my best to manage it, but I'm super stressed and I sit on the wall and it's like it's such a relief almost, to
Yes,
to
yes,
be there.
for
Okay,
sure.
I know you have to go, but I have one last question. And
Yes.
that's just, what has you've everything you've learned from free diving about your psychology and about emotional regulation, how has that helped you in other areas of your life, or has it at all?
It's a very difficult question because I sometimes see I have two child and I see sometimes like screaming, "Ah, why do you do this?" And then all my control in the water it goes away in land, no? Or when I'm running out of time and the traffic light doesn't go green, the fuck this, I get angry, no? But at least I think you don't have to masterize all parts of your life. It's very difficult. We are masters on our profession, like other ones are masterize their own profession, and we have always these parts in other parts of our life that we cannot control. But it's true that this knowledge give us awareness. At least I know that I'm doing wrong, or I'm doing
Yeah.
right, or I should getting better. So it give me the knowledge to say, okay, Miguel, this is not the way you should react. If you never had the knowledge and you never deal with that, so probably you even don't know that you are doing wrong, that you're getting stressed, and this is not good for your health, and it's not good for the others around you. So I think that the least is that myself, I know if I'm doing wrong, and also, of course, if I would train to, okay, this doesn't bother me, it's like we call equanimity. I don't know if
Yeah.
you call in English
Yeah, we
same,
do. Yeah.
but equanimity is the best, but not always is the same. It's not easy to know if you are under ice and
No.
you are with a wetsuit, it's cold. The best is to be equanimity to relax. If you are 100 meters and it's cold and you have to breathe, you have to be equanimous to,
Yeah.
okay, don't bother you. If your child is screaming, you should be, like, okay,
Yeah.
no problem. It's not dying. No, it's just
Yeah.
hungry. I will eat the food soon.
Yeah.
So, but this doesn't mean that you don't get a bit stressed, no? But with the training, again, then
Mhm.
you are able to dissociate this emotion with the reality of what is happening. No? So I think
Yeah.
awareness is the most important thing, to be equanimous and to have a better quality life, let's say, because people is all over stress all the time. I can see
Yeah.
people all the time stressed, and it's normal with the work, with the family, with the sport. They give a lot of pressure all the time, and yeah, the central nervous system needs to rest also.
Yeah.
Same as the body and the muscles, same as the central nervous system. That what happened to me many times, and that's why my sports psychologist made me aware about why I was
Okay.
decreasing my performance.
Mhm. Interesting. Yeah, cool. Well, this has been a great conversation. Thanks a lot.
It's
And you've just written a book, right? But it's only in Spanish for now.
yeah, for now it's in Spanish. It's like a no chronicle way book about my experience with all the what we have talked about today. And I discovered a lot writing this, because at the end you do things like naturally, and then you read things, you say, that's described it. I didn't know that that was a psychologist, sports psychology, they use this technique or they do that,
Yeah.
and was more like self-discover. And also with with the knowledge and the practical exercise, and you are able to have more awareness. So I put this into a book. Yeah.
Cool. Great. Well, um, any Spanish speakers, I'm sure you would like to read, and then maybe one day in English. I don't know.
We will try to make it. I'm not sure if it will be interesting or not, but we will try to put it in English someday, at least just
Yeah.
to friends that they want
Yeah.
to have another vision. Because as I told you, there is no books about. It's not only about freediving. It's about everything. About success. About how is the society. How we do with these sports where we are amateur, let's say, kind of sports, because we don't get millions of euros and you have big
Yeah.
sponsors, so it's difficult to make a living, and you have to have a lot of
Mhm.
passion. And if there is no passion, then there is always fights, and there is accidents and all the stuff. So it's about putting more like a society criticism about
Right.
what we are and all the stuff. But yeah, as I told you, what I read always was more like sports psychology in climbing, in mountaineering,
Yeah.
and I think it helped me a lot, because I was
Oh,
reading
cool.
same as what I was living. So I guess it helps to other sport people, even if they are not freedivers.
Yeah, totally. No, I mean, I'm really interested in it, and I've never done it, so I think there's a lot of crossover and a lot to learn, because at the
Sure,
end of the day, we have the same mind, don't
for
we? We're
sure,
doing different things with it, but
for
it's the
sure.
same as the human brain. So
For sure. That's why we are here. And I give you a bet that I want to teach you one day freediving,
yeah.
but you have to help me with my big vertigo that I cannot handle. I even see a movie and I sweating my hands because somebody is like on the edge of the cliff or
Okay.
something. So I'm a very tough guy in this. And it's curious. People ask me, but how you are so afraid of heights when you are attracted to that? And yeah, I don't know. I'm used to this, but I'm never used to be on heights. So I have to expose myself, but it's hard. It's out of my comfort
Comfort
zone,
zone, yeah.
for
Well,
sure.
I honestly do not really like depths either. So could be a good exchange of skills.
For sure.
I don't have a phobia or anything, I don't think, but I don't even the idea when when you're in the ocean and there's just hundreds of meters
Yes.
below you, this
Yes.
feeling is not something I
Of
really like.
void. Yeah. Yeah. Me, no, me,
Yeah.
I'm attracted, but I cannot be in a cliff with close to it. I cannot do it. So, but it's good to expose yourself. And I think freediving, if they teach you properly, and as I told you, they give you the knowledge, the relaxation, the therapeutical part on the pool to relax, to do watsu. and you dissociate the all what is inside us that when we breath hold is suffering and pain and antinatural is the other way. It's completely relaxed, is introspective, and is our part of our genes,
Yeah.
DNA from our species. So I'm sure you will love it, and it will help you to transfer into the climbing.
Yeah, no, I'd love that. Yeah. Let's try and do it.
We will do it.
Yeah. Cool. All right. Well,
All
thanks so
right.
much. Yeah, and
Thank
all
you,
the
Hazel.
best with everything.
It's a pleasure. We are in contact, and we talk soon.
Yeah, great. All right. Thanks a
Thank
lot,
you.
Miguel.
Thank you.
Bye.